Welcome back to the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery. And today I am with a dynamic speaker, a world-class athlete, a new friend, an American record holder. She's a bronze, silver, and gold medalist at the World Championships. She's a bronze medalist in the Olympics, but most importantly, she's a wife, a mom, a strong believer, and just a really humble, kind spirit that has an unbelievable gift. I'm with Chaunté Lowe. Welcome to today's show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jordan. I like that introduction. It was slow, smooth, like smooth jazz.
Well, listen, you are a gift. We met, just so our audience knows, at John Gordon's training camp. And I told you this, I thought you were one of the best, if not the best speaker at the event. So dynamic, but also very humble. You have this incredible life story. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. You're going to have to keep listening to find out, Chaunté's story. But I pulled you aside afterwards and I said, hey, for as much as you've accomplished in the world of sport, an Olympic high jumper who's won a bronze medal and a gold medal at the World Championships, an American record holder. And by the way, was it 6'8"? Chaunté, is that the record?
Yeah, 6'8 3/4 inches. Yep.
Let's be clear. It's 6'8" and 3/4.
3/4.
To put that in perspective, I think you're 5'9". Is that right?
Yes, I'm 5'9".
So, what percent of the world population could jump a foot higher than they are tall? I got to imagine it's almost nobody that can do that.
Not a lot. And a lot of the women who have jumped that height or higher than me are way taller. So,
right.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, so I want to get into your story, and I'm so thankful that you're here. I know you're in the process of writing a book. You're speaking on stages all over the world. You are having just unbelievable impact. Could you take us back to California? You're raised by your mama. You have an interesting background, a bunch of sisters. Like, take us back to the early days of Chaunté Lowe.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very small town called Paso Robles, California, like a place we were embarrassed about when we were little. And then when we got older, realized how cool it was because everyone vacations there. So grew up there. And, I grew up in a house where my mom, we were she was a single mother household for a while, but then she got married, met our stepdad. We were all happy to have him on our family, but he had a problem with alcoholism. And so he'd get drunk. He would beat my mother, and it was like kind of like terror in the household. And I remember having these time periods where I would just like pray, like, God, please just take this guy away, like take him away. And at one point in time, he just didn't come back one day. He got in trouble with the law because, if you live that type of lifestyle, you tend to get in trouble inside the house and outside the house. And so he was taken away from our household. And at that moment, I was like, okay, this God thing, it's real. Like he cares about my life tangibly right now. Through way of that situation, my mother ended up spiraling into a depression because of the abuse. She ended up stopped going to work, and we ended up homeless. And so now I'm a 9-year-old kid with my mother. My mother sends my sisters away to go live with their father because we had separate fathers. And so now I'm alone in the world. I'm feeling like defeated, depressed. And I kind of had this goal of becoming an Olympian when I was a child, like really, really young, watching the Olympics in 1988, Flojo, Carl Lewis, Jackie Joyner Kersey. And, I had this dream of becoming an Olympian, but at that moment, experiencing that abuse, I gave up on it. Like it was the first time in my life I had extreme hopelessness. And I had a really amazing relationship with my grandmother who saw what was going on in our family and our household. And she took me outside of that environment to expose me to something different. And what I didn't understand at the time is she was allowing me to be injected with hope. Like she knew that in our most hopeless moments, we need hope. And so she would take me to sporting events. She would allow me to see like other athletes being awarded scholarships. And she would explain to me that whatever situation we're in right now, whatever challenges that we are facing, it doesn't matter. It is not an indicator of what our life will look like in the future. And so,
Mhm.
you know, through faith and through walking out a different goal, you know, walking out a different, I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional, but
Mm.
walking out a different path, we could have a different future. And so I've just carried that throughout my whole life. And that's my Pastor Robles life.
You carried it well, and you came out of that situation, and you end up going to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. You have incredible success there. Tell us about those years and your chapter as an athlete at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, so at Georgia Tech, one thing that I did not expect to have, it was like a family atmosphere. So even
Mm.
though I was 3,000 miles away from my home, I had a family atmosphere. And so, you know, I was very bold. I would say now I probably wouldn't be as bold as I was, but I would walk to people, I'm going to the Olympics. I'm going to the Olympics. God willing, I'm going to the Olympics. And, you know, instead of people telling me, you can't do it, this isn't something that's going to happen, by me telling everybody in that family like community, it was a community of people who held me accountable. So they're
Mm.
always asking me, hey, how's the training going? Oh, you getting ready for the Olympics? Have you seen this athlete that's competing at this school? You know, and I think that a lot of times, like when we have these really bold goals or a vision for our life, we want to keep it to ourselves and keep it secret. And
Mm.
there's so much value in having a trusted community where you could share those hopes and dreams with. So I go to Georgia Tech. Everybody's holding me accountable. I mean, the whole village. And I say we got to the Olympics together in 2004 at the Athens Olympic Games. It was, I would like to tell you it was a success. No, it was a complete disaster, but we got there.
Well, that's what matters, right? Is getting there, and your world really started to take off. I mean, at this point, you're developing a real brand as an athlete. You become a household name. You have an amazing journey through the sport of track and field. But I think one of the coolest parts of your story is that you did it the right way. Some others did not do it the right way.
Yeah.
And because of that, you're awarded a bronze medal. And they have the special ceremony for you in Los Angeles. Talk to us about what that experience was like.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to even note that like throughout my journey, you know, I go to the Olympic Games in '04, I lost, but like something happened where I started taking those that lessons and those feelings from that loss. And I was like, okay, how do I apply this to the next iteration, to the next trial
Mm.
and do it again? And so even though I've had the opportunity to like be a household name and do all these things, I think what's most relatable is that I did go to the Olympics 4 times. I did lose 4 times, but in that process, like I had 3 kids along the way. And so like it was not an easy journey. Like 2 of those Olympics, I had nursing 12-month-olds. And I think one time it was like a nursing, he was still nursing. I don't remember how old he was at that point. And
Crazy.
so and so like the journey wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but no matter how hard things got, it was so important to me to have a good name. And one thing that I learned in Sunday school is like it takes an entire lifetime to build a good name, but just that one misstep to lose it all. So
Mm.
it wasn't even a temptation to use performance enhancing drugs. And so now let's fast forward after 4 Olympics, after 3 babies, contemplating retirement, I get a call. And the call was that when I was competing in the rain in 2008, 8 years earlier, 3 of the women who placed in front of me cheated.
Mm.
And like, and so they were going to fly me to an event and they were going to reallocate the bronze Olympic medal to me. And I think in that moment, I'm like, wow, like God, you don't forget. You don't forget about your children. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about a person who really develops their character, you know?
Yes.
And I commend you because in that world, I mean, there is so much that happens around performance enhancing drugs and people taking a shortcut. And
Yeah.
so you were willing to do it the right way. 8 years later, you find out you are now an Olympic medalist
Yes.
and you earned it and you deserved it. But it's interesting. You refer to the 2020 run, I'll call it,
Yep. Yep.
as your most successful, most meaningful run. And I remember being at training camp in Florida with you, you know, a month ago, and you started to talk about this part of your story.
Yeah.
So buckle up if you're listening, because this is where Chaunté's story really starts to get good. Um, 2020 was an interesting time for you. I'll pause there and let you pick it up.
Yes. So in 2018, I found, I really started understanding what they say when they say, like, put the oxygen mask on yourself. So I worked in financial services after, getting my medal. I became a financial advisor. And all the time I would have people come in and they would save their whole lives, work a whole career. They have this nest egg, and then some type of health event would completely wipe that nest egg out. And I'm sitting there trying to help them pick up the pieces. And so I'm seeing this over and over, and I'm realizing, like, your greatest asset's not like your job or your ability to make money. Like, your greatest asset is preserving your health.
Mm,
And so, throughout that process, I started doing self-care. The last Olympics that I competed at, there was an Olympian, a Jamaican sprinter who was healthy. She was young, and she was detailing that she went to the Olympic Games, ran in the 4x4, came home and had a double mastectomy because she was diagnosed with stage 0 breast cancer. And so, like, seeing her share this story, I was like, hold on, I'm young, I'm 30. Like, I would have never even had it on my radar. So, as part of my self care, I started doing self breast exams. And no less, I want to say 2 years after doing these breast exams, I found a little tiny, painless, rice-sized lump. I go to the doctor to go get it checked. They're looking at me. They're like, you're healthy. Don't worry. It's nothing. I did the ultrasound and the mammogram, and they were like, no, it's nothing. Like, you're good. It's a lymph node. Go away. Don't come back in 6 years. So I'm like, okay, that was scary, but I'm very, very glad that I have a second life.
mm,
But something inside of me, as a believer, I know what that is.
mm.
I believe that the Holy Spirit was just telling me, don't ignore this,
Yeah.
keep pursuing it. I'm so glad that I listened, because instead of waiting 6 years, I go back 11 months later, and they tell me that that little lump that I was concerned about has tripled in size, and that it's breast cancer. And not only is it breast cancer, it is the most aggressive form of breast cancer. So had I listened and not listened to what the Holy Spirit was telling me, I would not be here today.
Wow.
So that's that's one of those situations. And it's kind of funny because I was in a John Bevere um lesson where I was, like,
Mm,
trying to learn how to, like, okay, how do you listen to this, to the Holy Spirit? Like, what is that? How do you hear the voice of
mm.
God? And I'm in this study as this is actively going on. And so I got baptized. We were in the middle of a fast. I got baptized, and then that's when this diagnosis came out. And so I go back to the doctor. It's breast cancer. And so I have to make a decision. Like, am I going to keep going, or am I going to stop? And I'll let you ask a question now.
And you decide to keep going. And, I find it interesting. Part of your story, Chaunté, is that every time you were training or preparing, there was adversity.
Yeah.
And, your ability to train and prepare in the midst of raising young babies, like breastfeeding and caring
Yeah.
for little infants and newborns. And, like, at the same time, you're competing on a world stage and
Yeah.
managing all of that. And I think in some way, God prepared you to handle this too, right? Like, he had prepared you
Yeah.
to handle something really hard,
Yeah.
um, while preparing and competing. So I'm going to throw it back to you. So
Yeah.
2020, you decide I'm jumping in and
Oh,
talk.
yeah. Because when you face a terrible diagnosis, or you get bad news, or you're really at a point where you're facing your mortality, like, right head on, you start realizing the things that are in your life, or the situations that you went through, that are really important. And while I loved having that medal, after, like, 30 or 20 years, or however long it took to finally get a medal in my hand, it wasn't that medal that was going to help me in that moment. What was going to help me in that moment is every time that I got knocked down and got back up. It's all the lessons that I've learned through adversity, that I've learned through perseverance. And I understood in that moment that a lot of times we kind of hide those. We think that the prickly parts of our life are, embarrassing, or they don't have any value. And the reality is, the true gold in our life are the lessons that will help us withstand the trials when we're put in the middle of the fire. And
So
so
true.
um, I kind of changed my mindset of what the real gold in life is. And I call it like redefining the gold. The gold are the things that are going to help you that you could have only got by going through the fire. And so now, as I'm facing this diagnosis, yes, I was devastated for a little bit, but then all of a sudden, that muscle of resilience, that muscle
Mm,
of faith, that muscle of perseverance kicked in. And all of a sudden, I'm like, no, I got what I need to fight.
mm,
And I decided that I would end up training for the Tokyo 2020/2021 Olympic Games while I was going through the chemotherapy, while I was going through the double mastectomy, because now I understand the power of my story. And maybe if I can get in front of the cameras, maybe if I could share it, one woman or man would get checked. And now that expands into my speaking, where it's like, maybe somebody
mm.
needs the tools to build resilience. And so, yeah.
Wow. I mean, I remember this part of your talk, and there's footage, there's video of you training in the
Yeah.
middle of chemotherapy, like
Yeah.
hair loss and all, and
Yep.
surgeries, and like, and you're getting after it, like you're preparing in the middle of that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, tell Chaunté Lowe about a hard day. You know, try to talk to her about tough life. So what did you learn in that process? So take us through how that unfolds, what you learn, because again, you
Yeah.
call this your greatest
Oh,
run.
yeah. Yeah.
What did you learn coming out of that, and then how did your life evolve as a result?
Yeah, I learned about what was really important. And I understood that what was important to me was the people around me. And so when I think about the people that I love or the community or the people that I would touch, like that became genuinely important to me. And, I felt like it was the situation, the sickness was not a gift. The situation that unfolded because of it, I believe it was a gift because I understood
Mm,
that every single day of my life is valuable. And I think like a lot of times we could spend our life, rotting on the couch or like,
yeah.
doing mundane things. And the reality is we have no idea whether it's COVID, whether it's cancer, whether we don't understand how many days we have been given. But you don't want to live those days with regret. And
Mm,
so now, like the time that I spend with my family, and I love watching this time you spend with your family
mm,
because I understand it's important and meaningful. But I also think it's a gift because I learned to look at the people around me. A lot of times we are able to go through life and we don't really see people. We don't see their
mm.
struggles, we don't see their pains, we don't look at them with compassion. And so going through that situation where I look like a little baby bird, bald and all, like I see people that were suffering in maybe the same way or a similar way. And my heart of compassion goes out to them. And so, as a financial advisor, there wasn't a lot that I could do, but then you tend to look at what you have in your hands, what resources you have available,
Mm.
what wisdom you have, and you look at the world from a lens of how can I make it better?
Well, you're making it better, and you're sharing your story on stages all across the country. Talk to us about your speaking, Chaunté. I want our
Yeah,
audience to hear this. You're sharing this story repeatedly. I heard you
yeah,
speak at Day to Grow, Maxwell Leadership, huge
yeah.
leadership event at training camp. You've already been on some of the best and biggest stages in the leadership space. Um, I assume you love speaking as much, if not more, than your work as an athlete.
More.
More. It is more.
I love it more. I remember my mom used to tell me, they used to call me Chatterbox when I was an infant. And she said that I scared her because I was watching Winnie the Pooh in like 6 months old. I'm watching Winnie the Pooh in my little playpen, and he said indubitably, and then I said indubitably, and she said I terrified her
In your playpen.
in my playpen. And so I feel like speaking was always going to be in my future. But, just the way it's like the way that you can watch an audience transform. And
Mm,
so every stage that I get on, even if the core stories might be similar or the same, I love having that pre-event meeting where you understand the audience, who you're going to be speaking to, understand what they need, and customize it specifically so that they walk out there with a tool set that makes them feel energized, makes them feel like they got this. And, I'm very vulnerable about the hardships that I face because now that I see the people, I understand that they're going through the same thing.
Good.
And I watched the transformation happen. Like, if you hear me talk, disclaimer, you're going to cry, you're going
Yep.
to laugh,
Yep. Yep. All the
you know,
feels.
all
All
the
the feels.
feels, all the
Yep.
feels.
I've been there listening to you. So, that axiom, maybe Stephen Furtick said it first, that sometimes God's preparation for your life is packaged as pain.
Yes.
And I think that's been true of your story. It's been
Yeah.
true of my story in a different way. Um, you're now writing this book and
Yeah.
you're working on this project that I know will also touch a lot of lives. Talk to us about the book that you're working on and that's about to reach the shelves.
Yes, I am being forced to write the book by John Gordon and John Maxwell. So John always says he's an author that speaks. I am a speaker that is being forced to write.
Good.
But I think it's one of those things where every single time I get off the stage, I have people coming up to me asking for the book. And I asked one of the audience members, I was like, okay, well, what would you want to hear? And they're like, man, we want to hear these stories, but we need you to go deeper. And,
Mm.
in 45 minutes, you're going to get a lot, but I want them to have something that they could take home with them so that when they might be facing some of these challenges or actively want to put them into practice or put the takeaways into practice, they have it there
Mm.
with them. And, it's really going to focus on finding a way to redefine the gold, but then also when you face these setbacks or these hardships, like how can you view them? And I think a lot of times we're just surviving our life. We're surviving the hardships. And like Furtick said, you have to go through the pain. We're surviving the pain. I want to help you thrive, even if you're in the pain, to
Mm.
feel the joy, to feel the peace, to feel the kindness, to have a life full of love and expectancy, even in the middle of that pain. And so that's what this book is going to help the audience do.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Chaunté, because if I could use a word to describe you, if somebody said, describe Chaunté Lowe in a word,
Mhm.
I would use the word joy. That's the word that I would attribute to just who you are and the person that God has made you to be. You live with such great joy and you've got a magnetic, way about you. We have a lot of leaders listening who do communicate
Yeah.
and I communicate for a living. And I'm always interested to learn from other communicators. Like, what's the one or two things that you're learning about communication, or what's the pro tip that you would give to someone who wants to be a more effective
Yeah.
communicator? So, in all of your work as a speaker,
Mhm.
talk to us about what you're learning and maybe one or two suggestions that you would share with our audience about connecting at a deeper level and being more effective with their communication.
I love it. And you're a wonderful communicator, by the way. um, I think that the number one thing that I've learned is authenticity. When I first
Mm.
started, I wanted to be polished and I wanted to have everything perfect. I wanted to make sure I didn't say not even one time. And I realized when I was able to really transform and really connect with the audience, it was authenticity. And there's a certain level of preparation that you do before the event. I think a lot of athlete speakers, we have to be, when you're competing in athletics, there's a certain level of selfishness when it comes to like making sure you're good, but you can't bring that selfishness to the stage.
Come
It's
on.
not about you and what you accomplished. It is about the audience. And so when you're speaking to them, you want to make sure that you're authentic, but you also want to be selfless in the way that you are, whatever you're speaking is for them. And
Mm.
then the third thing I would say is preparation. Like before the event, even when you go to church, you can tell when the pastor went on vacation and didn't do anything that Sunday.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I prepare before the event, but I don't prepare to memorize. I prepare to know. And so I'm going through the notes exactly how I want to say it. And then right before the event, I trash the notes.
Mm.
I completely throw them away because now, in order to speak authentically, I need to speak from what I know versus what I've memorized.
So good. I
Yeah.
want us all to catch that. You speak and prepare based on what you know instead
Yeah.
of what you've memorized. And there's such a distinct difference because we've all been around the speaker who speaks almost verbatim. It's like they're
Yes.
just going off the script because they literally memorized a script.
Yep. Yep.
And I think when you prepare based on what you know, it allows you to connect with your audience and be others focused and in tune with how people are feeling. I also
Yeah.
think you've done a really good job of remaining human in your approach to the stage. John Maxwell says this, that success is a terrible separator. It
Mm.
separates you from people. And
Yeah.
so, if you think about it, anytime you have authority, whether you're in front of 10 people or 1,000 people, if you're leading in the boardroom, classroom, or you're on a
Yeah.
stage, if you're out front, there's already a separation
Yeah.
based on the way that people are looking at you or seeing you. And this is definitely true of your journey as an Olympian and a national champion and somebody who's had all this success. But I think one of the things that works really well for you is you're really quick to be human
Yeah.
and you're quick to laugh or share something silly or talk about your family and you close the gap. And I want our audience to hear that because so often communicators make the gap bigger. They
Yeah.
talk about something they've done or somewhere they've been or someone they know, and that doesn't close the gap and
Yeah.
connect with people. It actually just creates a bigger gap. And so I just love your comments about authenticity. I receive you as a very authentic, humble, winsome connector and communicator. And I think
Oh.
God is just getting started with you. Hey, I could talk to you for 2 days straight and just keep asking you questions and letting you teach and share. But I know we have to wrap this up for sake of time. So is there anything you want to leave our audience with, Chaunté, that you want them to know about Chaunté Lowe or that you want to empower them or equip them with?
I think I want to encourage them and also like kind of give a little insight into me as well. Even though I'm doing my dream job as a speaker, I'm continuing to grow every single day. I'm continuing to learn. There was a time period where, yes, my talks were the same, but I'm trying to grow to where, giving the audience a transformative experience. And if you are a communicator, there's the difference between being a keynote speaker and a thought leader, and we can grow. We can grow. You don't have to be there today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, one of the things that really transformed my life when I came back from maternity the first time, and I was trying, like I had less than 11 months to go from maternity to trying out for my second Olympic team. And I think that the thing that helped me is that I wasn't trying to get to Olympic status day one. I just wanted to get a little bit better every single day. So it doesn't matter where you are, just get a little bit better every day. And I'd say the final thing is you don't have to be the expert on what you're trying to accomplish. Just align yourself with somebody else who is. And
Good.
so if you do what they do, you should be able to do what they do.
That's great. Yeah. Well, again, encouraging, empowering, making it about other people. And, I do think you have a level of preparation. You've lived a prepared life. I mean, you just, I think, demonstrate a certain level of care for the audience, even for today's show, and that you're prepared and you've thought about the room before you entered the room. John Maxwell. I feel like we keep talking about the John today, John Gordon and John Maxwell. We've both been really impacted by both of those men. But,
Yes.
I'll leave our audience with this question: do you wing it or do you work at it? And Chaunté, you have this incredible gift, but I also want to draw attention to the fact that you have worked at your gift
Yeah.
tirelessly and relentlessly, both in track and field and now as a speaker. And you continue to love your family well and keep the main thing the main thing. And I'm just inspired by you and look forward to growing a friendship for many, many years to come. So thanks for being my friend. Thanks for investing time in our audience, for sharing your story. And again, I just can't wait to see where God takes you on your journey, because I do feel like there is so much more impact and good work ahead of you. So thanks for being you.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for being you. Thank you for bringing me into the family fold.
Well, we have more good conversations ahead, and I know our audience got better So again, from me to you and our community, thanks for your time. Talk soon.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery, and I want to say thanks again for being with us today. Thanks again to John Choate and his team at Storyline Multimedia for all that they do behind the scenes to make these episodes go. Be well, be great. Have an amazing day.